Welcome to Trailblazers, the podcast where we sit down with contrarian tech leaders who found conventional success in unconventional ways. I'm your host, Erica Wenger, founding general partner of Park Rangers Capital. Each week, we uncover the stories, strategies, and moments of grit that define the builders shaping the future. They're not just chasing unicorns, but instead creating elephants, companies, firms, or movements built to last. On Trailblazers, we spotlight founders who succeed by doing things differently, not by following the playbook, but by rewriting it. Many of those unconventional builders and the VCs backing them run on Brex because it helps them scale with speed and focus. From smart corporate cards and high-yield banking to AI-powered expense management, Brex gives startups the financial stack they need from day one so they can spend more time building and less time managing back-office operations. More than 30,000 companies, from breakout startups like Anthropic and Cursor to global leaders like DoorDash and Plaid, trust Brex to help them spend smarter and move faster. That's why we, as a venture firm and also the podcast, run on Brex too. Sign up at brex.com/trailblazerspod to get started and claim exclusive rewards. That's brex.com/TRAILBLAZERSPOD. So today on the show, I am thrilled to be joined by Maya Bakhai. Maya is the founder of Spice Capital, a first yes fund, love that explanation, investing at pre-seed and seed. Maya's Fund 2 is a $25 million fund that will invest in about 40 companies with check sizes ranging from $250,000 to $750,000. Spice Capital has over 50 companies in the portfolio, including Beehive, Mubi, Prosper Health, Hype, Sketch, and more. In the last 8 years, Maya has backed over 100 founders. Prior to starting Spice Capital in 2021, she ran venture investments for Kevin Durant at 35 Ventures. Yes, that Kevin Durant, where she invested in multiple now unicorns, including Hugging Face, Robinhood, Skydio, Mercury, Whoop, Rubrik, and Underdog Fantasy. She has a bachelor's in finance and data science from NYU. And in 2023, she was recognized for her investing in Forbes 30 Under 30s VC list. Maya is based here in New York. And fun fact, which I actually didn't know this about you, in a past life, she produced a sold-out off-Broadway musical, Aliens Coming, a narrative podcast, Illuminati Interns, and an award-winning web series called Freelance. Okay, creative. Let's welcome Maya.
Yay! Wow, it's really awkward having your bio read to you while you sit there.
I love it.
You love it? You just like watching our face?
Squirm.
Yeah.
And I feel like people like you especially are very humble and you don't come out the gate with all your things. There's people that name drop. Mm-hmm. It's not you.
It's not me.
So I have to force you to acknowledge all the things that you've done. Yes. Okay, so before we get into it, we have an icebreaker question.
Cool.
Just to break the ice, get right into it. On the Trailblazers podcast here, we talk a lot about choosing the hard path. So let me start with a meaty question out the gate. What has been the hardest part of your journey so far? The moment that almost broke you?
Oof, that's really hard.
Yeah.
Across my life, multiple versions of that. I think anything you put your mind to, there's always peaks and valleys, but I think recently it was fundraising for this fund, this firm, I guess I'll say, is just getting, I stopped counting. I probably have I had 500 no's combined until I stopped counting, and I was doesn't matter. But it's not really about the no's. It's once you have something live, you now have a responsibility. You have expectations, you have investors, you have people who look up to you, you have people who literally need you for money. I think that was the hardest part for me, just the world not really believing in what we're building, which is an extension of the world not believing in my founders, which is the most important thing and the reason why I'm doing all of this. I think that was the hardest part, where there were times where I was getting so many rejections, I couldn't come up with a creative solution. I feel you and I have talked about this. We'll finesse a way to get, make it through. Yeah. But I couldn't actually see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I couldn't really give up either, because I had all of these obligations to these founders that were relying on me to help start their business and to pay their employees. I think that was the hardest part I faced. And I think what kept me going was I didn't have an option. The same way, those founders were maxing out their credit cards. I was well, if they're maxing out their credit cards, I will too. Let's go. We don't have another option. I think that was the hardest part for me. Just no one believing in me when I felt that we were doing something so obvious and so straightforward. It was just a mismatch of timing.
Yeah. well, then how do you figure out creatively how to keep going? Because like I hear you on this not seeing a light at the end of the tunnel, and that's the scariest part, because it's one thing to know that there's like a hard thing you have to do in front of you and know the path. Like I say this a little bit with medicine, like my friends that are in medicine, going to med school, going to residency, it is such a hard path, but like the path is clear. It's like sort of show up, do the thing, memorize the things, save the lives, and like you're golden. It's not easy, but it's clear. How did you navigate and figure out the like, okay, where is the light? What is the solution to get through? Because you are getting through it.
Right.
How do you even come up with it when you're struggling?
Right. That's a great point. I think, because it's not about, and like I actually caught up with a friend who was like, it's not about you grinding. Like I would lock myself in my apartment and just like rip 100 cold emails and be like, yes, I'm grinding. Something will happen. I was like, I will get money. Money will fall into my lap. And then my friend was like, that's not the world you're in. And also, to your point, it's not a linear path. Like if I put this many hours, the output is not going to come. Like you need to get creative. So I think the two things are really actually, maybe one thing for sure that gets you out of that is creativity. Like you almost have to remove yourself from the situation. Like for me, I was like skipping all my friends' weddings and I went to somebody's wedding, and then I like had an experience outside of my little bubble, and that gave me, just like being on that wedding gave me ideas for like new ways or a different path I would have never thought of if I was just like sending cold emails all day in my apartment, like locking the door, lights off. So I think it's creativity, and then also coming back to like what your unique strength is, and like more, and I think this is for everyone in any type of field, just like trusting like why you're doing something and trusting yourself and being true to yourself. Like for me, most of the challenges I've had are around fundraising. So fundraising is really storytelling, and I think the world has gotten smarter around storytelling. Like if you read a script, in my world it's like accolades. If I read accolades, I'm never gonna win that game. Like I didn't go to Harvard, I didn't go to Stanford, I didn't go to MBA, I didn't work at a big VC fund, and I'm trying to like go create a firm in that bucket. So I'm always gonna fail if I try to like compete with the script. I almost need to like create my own script. And so I think it's a lot of like, that's always a solution. It's creativity, like take a step back, get space, be creative, and then come back to like who you are and storytell off who you uniquely are. That's what got me out of it. And like, it was just being my complete self, almost giving up, being like, I don't care. I'll figure something else out. I won't do this. And then like the next person I met just like saw me for who I was, because I wasn't doing a rehearsed like cold email,
1,000%. I mean, I feel like you strike me even now with your investments, which we'll get into later, as just like so authentic.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people struggle to figure out what that even is. So like a lot of what you're saying is screw the like, if you don't fit the resume, screw it, like figure out who you are. What is that process for people? So like a lot of people that are listening, some are in venture, but a lot of them are like operators figuring out their next job, like founders being like, what problem should I solve? Like, do you have, whether it's journaling, whether it's talking to mentors, whether it's just like sitting by yourself, like how do you figure out authentically who you are? Because, and I don't even know if you've put words to your authenticity. I feel like it might be easier for other people to do that, but how do you figure that out? How do you figure out like what your unique strengths are and how you should be operating in a very achievement oriented world?
Yeah, I'm like smiling because my mom, I think she was definitely going through something when she gave me this book, but like she gave me this book called Find Your Strengths, like probably when I was in middle school. And, when I was like in my peak teenage angst or middle school or high school, she's like, because I think I felt this way really early compared to most people. Like I had an identity crisis in like 7th grade versus like most people.
Started puberty and
like my braces came off and I was like, who am I? Like it's all downhill from here. Like that was me in 7th grade. So my mom's like, you need this book, girl. So and I don't even remember what it was, to be honest, but it was just like a reflective book of like, what are you just naturally good at? What do you love doing? What do you have fun doing? Like, what do people point to you and say like, she's great at that? And it can be the smallest thing, especially in today's world. Like we're so lucky today where you can have the nichest of niche interest and like go create content around it and monetize it and make a business off of it. And like you can kind of trust that now that the world is global and connected, you could find another 2,000 people that have the same interests as you and are willing to pay. Like you have the 1 in a billion odds right in front of you. So that's amazing, I think, in today's world. But a lot of it is just reflecting on like, who am I in my natural state when nobody's looking? And it can be the silliest of things, like, you know, it could be like, oh, I love doing puzzles. Okay, well, what does that mean about me? Or like, for me, it's like, I love being creative. Like, I love being silly, and I love bringing people together. I never had one friend group. I always had a lot of friend groups. Like, I've always been very multifaceted in my interests. Like, and so if I'm in my fund now, that means like I'm a generalist. Like, I'm a very proud generalist because I get bored of a sector. Like, I couldn't just be in biotech for 5 years. Like, that's just not my personality. So I think like matching your personality, your like your natural affinity to whatever you're doing day to day is what gets you going and keeps you going and makes it fun. Like, somebody said this, I don't know who, but it's like you almost need it to be a little bit easy. Like the structure around what you're doing can be difficult. Like, to figure out the game of the industry can be difficult to navigate through, but the core thing needs to be easy. So like, because that makes it fun. And if it's too hard, like if you're not a math person and you're trying to be, I mean, we've seen this in school, right? And like, you join the math club, you're always going to feel like a loser and you will never accelerate. You almost like need a little bit of positivity. You need early believers to take off. And so I think, it's like finding yourself, finding your strengths, really being honest about it, even if it's not something that looks good on paper, and then like pulling that thread further. Well, what can I do? Who else has these strengths? Until you've come upon an idea or a group or a company that aligns. Like, that's how I think about it.
I love that. I think a lot of people need to adopt that, and they would be better served for sure. Talk to me a little bit about Spice. Mm-hmm. So Spice is sort of your what is easy, what is fun, what is you, what is creative, what brings people together. Talk to me about like why. So you were, I mean, we mentioned it in the bio, but like you were at another firm. Mm-hmm. You started your own, you left to start your own. Talk to me about like why you left to start it, and then like what is Spice? Like, what does it represent to you? Because I think if people right now, they were to like look up your logo, they would be like, not what I typically see for a venture firm. So talk to me a little bit about that and how it's like the amalgamation of Maya in a firm.
Yes. Let's see. Okay. So first question, why did I leave?
Yeah.
I think why I left was I felt the world was quickly changing. I mean, it's what we just talked about. I felt the world was quickly changing, where there was this whole new generation. I was part of it. Like, I was part of the Robinhood generation that is almost like instant gratification generation. So it's like, you want to make money quickly. You want to, you want to like date on a dating app. You want food delivered to you at your doorstep. Like, it's this like ADHD generation in a funny way, now that I'm thinking about it. And that's a group of people that came up on the internet and just had a completely different way of thinking, because to what we talked about earlier, you weren't siloed into your career path. There were no check boxes. Like, truly the world is your oyster today if you just get online. And so I think I was one of those people. I was experiencing it. I think I had a front row seat via my role in ventures. Like, I got to see all these kind of edge technologies across multiple sectors. And then I saw the people making the investment decisions who were totally, I felt, out of touch with the next generation. So like, the next generation was on TikTok. All the behaviors I mentioned didn't click with how people were company building for today. And the investors and the playbooks, like everything just felt very like 2012 instead of 2020, which is when I started thinking about all of this. And so I think that was one thing where I felt different naturally. And I was like, whenever you feel super different or you have a very unique or stark insight from everyone, there's usually some opportunity there. And so when I was interacting with founders, I was hearing from them, it was both ways. We would have such a different conversation than a typical investor-founder relationship because I was of their generation. Like, I understood what they were trying to do. And so I like saw this opportunity where, it's just like new generation. The people who were 60 had no clue what was going on. They weren't on Discord. They weren't on Twitter. They weren't on TikTok. They were like doing the old playbook. And I was like, okay, this is a big business opportunity to go position myself or create a firm that's of the next generation. I think every so often there's a generational shift and like everything changes, including finance, like the financing structure. So let me be a part of that. That was one thing. The second thing is, ironically, this is like very more specific to VC, but VC has gotten so popular as a job and as an asset class. And partially it's because the funds, like VC was started mostly to invest in technology. If you look at the S&P 500, it's mostly tech companies, like all the top companies. So tech as a sector grew, which means the VC firms kind of grew with it in parallel. And the people who did VC used to be these cowboy, like weirdo former founders. It wasn't ex-investment bankers. And I saw even in the process of like me starting Spice, how, you know, where I went to undergrad, the number one job was Goldman Sachs investment banking internship, and now it's like a VC internship. And so I was watching VC become more popular. As all these firms got bigger, they needed to staff up, and they wanted to institutionalize as well. Like they wanted to be seen not as a niche sector of finance. They wanted to play with private equity and the other finance asset classes. So they got larger, and then they started hiring like MBA grads. And now you see that venture is like, and the whole playbook of building something and doing something new, the whole point of venture is to fund net new things. But then the people that are hiring and making decisions at this firm are literally like, you know, Excel monkeys. Like they're reading the same blog post. Like everyone can read the exact same blog post. Everyone had the exact same take on Twitter. And the result is what you're seeing now, where like, I think there was a stat this year that almost over 50% of venture dollars went into the same like 5 companies, which means that everyone's reading the same tweet, the same thread, and being like, oh, let's put money in here. And there's not that many people who have the like habit of looking at things from a different perspective, looking at things from an outside and like giving new ideas a chance. It's almost like there has to be a report on it, because that's what MBAs are taught, right? It's like, do your research, be diligent. But a lot of early stage and creating new things is there is no playbook. Like there's nothing to pattern match to. And so like I was kind of sitting at this amazing intersection of like the world is changing very quickly, behaviors are changing, consumption is changing, and on the other hand, like the sources of capital are almost getting like dumber. They're missing the changes and they're focusing on what's consensus. And I'm like, oh my God, there's a big opportunity to build a firm. And so I left really going out to say like, not having all the answers. I truly figured it out as I went, but I'm like, there's something here of like a next generation mixed with an opportunity to build something. And like, that's what Spice became. I literally I could not predict it's what it is today at all. Like it was kind of like, here's an experiment. I quit without a plan. I didn't have investors lined up. I was like, I'm going to go figure it out. And I think because of that, because I didn't have a plan, and there's always like some benefit to being naive because you're more creative. Because I didn't have a plan, I reimagined every single part of the investing cycle like bottoms up from an outsider perspective, because I didn't have something to reference or look at. I was kind of like, oh, what is the best way to get in front of a founder? Or like, what is the best way to make sure that you have the best deal flow? Or like, what is the best way to attract the biggest investors in the world? Or what is the best way for this founder to, proliferate and get into this accelerator, whatever it is. It was all just like with no context before. And there's just not that many people in the world that are willing to think that way anymore, because there is so much information online. Like this was nothing in my approach was novel 20 years ago. Like everyone who was entrepreneurial had to figure things out on their own. But in today's world, ironically, there's almost like a playbook. You can Google how to start a business. You can listen to podcasts like this and get all the tips. And so as a result, everyone's using the same tips. So like there's no like alpha in those tips, right? So I think I'm like, I feel a little bit like I'm analog to digital in that I'm like thinking of the old way, just like first principles. How do you do something different and fun? But with the lens of like, but I still understand everything that's going on in tech, like I still know what's at the cutting edge. So it's just like beautiful, it's spicy, it's messy, like that's what I am. Like, yeah.
RocketReach is the leading sales and lead intelligence solution trusted by sales, marketing, recruiting, and business development teams to grow their businesses. Whether you're looking for a developer halfway around the world, a C-level exec in New York, or a potential investor in Silicon Valley, we connect you directly. With RocketReach, you can easily access the most comprehensive, accurate compilation of emails and phone numbers on Earth. That puts you in front of the right people faster and backs you up with a database that reaches across industries, markets, and titles. Using AI, of course, to continually improve the quality of your contacts. With RocketReach, you can reach anyone so you can reach higher.
Trailblazer listeners get 15% off any plan at rocketreach.co/trailblazers. That's rocketreach.co/trailblazers.
Yeah. How did you balance the knowledge you had from your last firm with the like refresh of something new? Like you said, you looked at all these things with like a totally fresh lens, but you did have the experience of being an investor before. You also are online enough to like read some of the blog posts. So like, how do you balance the freshness of your own perspective and like doing things differently while still obviously having had experience at a firm?
Yeah, so I think the experience is key because it teaches you, and like anyone who's seen an early stage company through exit all the way, they will quickly pick up on a few things. One, the best investments usually, like I would say 9 times out of 10, looked very, the word is illegible I like to use, looked very illegible in the beginning. One of my founders actually like kind of helped me with this term. She runs an amazing media company, Dirt, but she was saying like, it's always hard to fundraise when things are illegible. But what that really means is there's no research report you can look up. So like if you think about an Uber, an Airbnb, or any of these iconic companies, it sounds kind of crazy and weird. Like, yeah, you can stay at a stranger's house and like they'll let you use their furniture. No, you don't have to get it dry cleaned after. You don't have to get their clothes dry cleaned. You don't need to wash their sheets. Like it sounds so weird and messy. And you're thinking like, if you're an investor sitting there hearing that pitch, you're like, what the hell? There's so much stuff going on. How is this going to work? Like there's so many things that could go wrong. Those are where the opportunities end up panning out long term. And so like the first thing I learned by having experience is that it kind of like reinforced that the people who seem like weirdos in the beginning or have like wild ideas are the ones that end up working out long term. Like that's almost like a prerequisite. It either works out or it doesn't, but you need that. Like I've never heard of if you're one step order different than the status quo and you try to tweak it slightly, you're not going to build $1 billion business. There's already $1 billion business that's been there. So category creators are always like super weird, illegible, confusing in the beginning. And I think the experience I got is almost like validating that, where it's like, wow, Hugging Face when they started was a chat bot. And at that time, the investors were like, no one's ever going to chat with like an AI. Literally, that was the phrase people said, which is crazy.
Looking back is insane. Yeah.
Is insane. But they're like, no one would ever do it. And this founder stumbled upon a teenage demographic that was like using AI as their best friend, telling them about their breakups, telling them about locker room drama, like all day going to town. And that's how they kind of made all their V1 infrastructure. And they learned so much about AI or application layer AI. But at that time, the investor community there was no research report, they could not synthesize that this was going to be the future, and so many people wrote that company off, and then like they went to prove everyone wrong. They're now a multi-billion-dollar business. I have like 20-30 examples of that, and literally every company that is doing well, if you talk to them, I mean, you can call any of those founders. They'll be like, yeah, no one believed in me. Everyone thought I was crazy. So I think validating that was very important, and just seeing that through. Because if you've never seen something that's that's weird, non-consensus, nobody wants to do it, become successful, you don't have that almost like natural trust of yourself. So if you meet a founder that doesn't match the textbook or doesn't match the blog post, you're likely to also write them off and like participate in the group thing. So I think seeing what good looks like is amazing. In today's world, you don't have to work at a venture firm. Like you can literally listen to podcasts and like the history of you can listen to Acquired and the history of different companies. You can come listen to something like this and you'll see the arc of the founder kind of in real time, which is amazing. So I'm hoping that this next generation, when they're in their 50s and they're like in those positions of power, they won't have that same bias because they have been exposed to more information. But yeah, I think that's how I balance both.
Yeah, no, that's extremely helpful. One thing we talk about a lot is how important it is to back these eligible founders and having a contrarian thesis. But, and I'm bringing back some stuff we've talked about like in private, being truly contrarian can sometimes not be embraced by our industry.
Yeah.
And there are other stakeholders that you have to please as a VC. So I'll give 2 examples for those who are listening. One is limited partners that invest in your fund.
Yeah.
So like limited partners, it's like a tightrope. You have to balance like having enough proof points, right? Of like, oh, this makes sense. I've seen this before, but being contrarian enough to be like, oh no, but this is a different new opportunity. but they want to back things they understand. Like a lot of them are like, we just will do enterprise software now, you know, and they're like scared of consumer, or they're scared of crypto, or they're scared of something unknown. And then so that's one stakeholder, is like, how do you get your fund funded if you're too different? Because like LPs will say no. And then the second stakeholder is like co-investors that'll like mark up your deals and that'll like send you stuff. Like if you have a deal that's so different, is so illegible, like you're saying, who's going to like join in the round with you? Who's going to like do their Series A? Who's going to do their Series B? So like, this is, I think, the thing that a lot of even like VCs struggle with, is like, in an ideal world, they can back whoever they want and they can just fund them forever. Like that's how I always say, like, a family office life is a great life, because like you can fund whoever you want and then you can write the bigger check and you can just have your own unique conviction. How do you think about that? How do you think about like that tightrope and like balancing these stakeholders who like, you know, if you do things that are way too different, like they might just die because no one else is going to like mark them up. And if you do things that are too different, you might never be able to raise another fund. Right. Talk to me about your point of view, because I feel like you always have such a refreshing take when we talk about this.
Yeah. I mean, it's not easy. I think a few things. One, it's less about marking it up. It's more about a company doesn't just need my 200K. Like, they need a lot more money to get to, if they want to go for the moonshot, become a unicorn, $1 billion business plus, like they're going to need $50-100 million over the course of their life as a startup. So it can't just be me, for sure. You're right. I think there's a few things. One, there's this like, I don't know, the word contrarian is very finicky, because the cousin of it is like adverse selection, and that's what most LPs will come back to me with. Most investors I'm pitching will come back to me with. They'll be like, are you just contrarian? I don't know, without getting into the weeds, but they'll pretty much be like, oh, the cousin of contrarian is adverse selection. So are you just picking bad companies that nobody else wants to do because that's all you have access to? Yeah. I think there's something really important, and almost like you can get stuck. I guess what I'm trying to say is you can get stuck in all these terms. And like, this is the curse of our generation, where we have these terms like contrarian or taste or whatever, and everyone gets stuck in them. And then they like build a thesis around them because it's mimetic and it sounds good and it hits on podcasts. But like, the world is not like that. It is illegible. And so getting stuck in one of those is always very challenging. So I'm like constantly this is why I don't do that much content. 'Cause I'm like, I don't want one consistent meme around me. Like, I want to be fluid. I think that's how you make money in early stage. But going back to your question directly to answer it. So the tricky or the dirty secret of like being an early stage investor is the best founders, they're not just like shooting for random ideas in the dark. There is a tailwind. So for example, we invested in a medical tourism startup, and it's called Heva. They're doing payments and financing for like your procedure. So like, think about it as buy now, pay later, BBL. What could go wrong? Okay. And so, I mean, it's cosmetic and medical. But anyways, so this company, for example, when they started, it was very difficult to fundraise because there is no public market comp, right? Like, on paper, it sounds crazy to go, it sounds like, oh my God, there could be so many legal risks, things could go wrong. You're operating in different companies, it's international. But the reality is that 1.5 million people went to Korea for skincare last year. Around the same amount went to Turkey last year. People are going
for the hair thing,
for the hair transplants. Yeah. Women, like Harvard Business School girlies, are going to Mexico City for IVF. And these are like millions of people. Average procedure cost is like $3,000 US dollars. So this is like multi-$100 billion TAM. So these are very much venture markets that nobody has ever bothered to disrupt. And so the tailwind is there. And a lot of it is actually from, TikTok and creator economy. Like, people 5 years ago, that would sound crazy to do IVF in Mexico City. But now there's come with me to Mexico City to freeze my eggs, and it normalizes it, right? And so like, there are tailwinds and data points. There's just no existing tech startup. And so no investor in the VC community wants to be the first one to be like, you know what, let me go take this risk. But to me, it's actually so de-risked. Like, unlike a founder that's, building the 20,000th like B2B SaaS HR tech startup that's like looking for product market fit, this is a wide open business opportunity and a tailwind, and like people ready to pay. You're just accelerating it with technology. Like, that's literally the point of venture capital. And so every single company we do seems contrarian, not because the idea is crazy. It's just because like there's no research report around it, which kind of like shows like how reduced the state of venture is today to like very binary. Is there research on it or is there not? You know, and so a lot of what we're doing is like looking at behaviors, legitimate dollars that are flowing through and saying like, is there a way to utilize technology to accelerate this further? And the beauty of this is when a founder is relying on a tailwind, like when they're building for an industry, they start making money right away. So like all these founders that might seem contrarian, they didn't have the luxury of raising a $10 million round from like the hot Silicon Valley firm. No one else wanted to do it. So they had no choice but to start making money. And guess what? They have customers that are ready to pay. And so like most of my most contrarian investments where it's really just the narrative is not in vogue right now this quarter, end up making way more from a revenue perspective. And once the numbers are there, like if you're doing 20, 30, 50, $100 million a year, the investors will come. Like
it doesn't matter. It
doesn't matter. They don't care what sector you're in. They're like, wait, what is this? They see that data and like they'll come. So good data is good data. Like if you put up good numbers as a business, that's all you need. It's just that early day, they're doing it in a more capital efficient way. I'm here for it because like if it's really hard for them to raise I do pre-seed, if it's really hard for them to raise a seed round, and we skip it, like we're like, all right, F it, we're just going to make a bunch of money, come back to the market and raise in Series A. That's another 20% of dilution that we all saved.
Like, no, it's incredible. Instead of the 80% by the end, it's like 60. Yeah.
So all you have to do is like be willing to take risk early. And it's like it's so much easier for me. And it's easier for the founders too. And most of the founders that I meet, they're like, listen, the business opportunity is here. No one else is going to do it because no one else is like able. But besides me and the founder, no one else is going to come into this opportunity because it's hard and like it's hard to raise money for. And so the fact that, you know, people are willing to fund sectors that are hard to raise money for is like you could look at it with deep tech too. Like that was considered horrible for venture and now that's a hot asset class. But all the founders that started 5-6 years ago are now at maturity doing really well. But when they started, it was really hard and they're like, do the hard things. They went for it, right? They're like, I see an opportunity, even though there's not capital for me, I'm going to push through. It's the same, you know, it's like they got creative. So that's how you think about it.
Quo, formerly OpenPhone, is built to help small business owners and growing teams stay on top of every customer conversation. Instead of juggling calls, texts, and voicemails on a personal phone, Quo gives you a dedicated business line and an all-in-one inbox that works on any device. Teams can collaborate in real time, picking up conversations seamlessly and responding faster than ever. And with Quo's AI agent, Sona, handling after-hour calls, answering questions, and even booking appointments, you'll never miss a lead. Rated 4.7 stars on G2 and trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, Quo, formerly OpenPhone, is the smarter way to grow without missing a customer. Quo is offering my listeners 20% off of your first 3 months at quo.com/trailblazers. That's quo.com/trailblazers. And if you have existing numbers with another service, Quo will port them over at no extra charge. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. I've actually used Gusto at 3 different companies, and every time it's been such a relief. It's simple, it's reliable, my paycheck was always on time, no drama. And unlike the big clunky payroll systems out there, Gusto is affordable and designed for teams like ours. Gusto is online payroll and benefits software built for small businesses. It's all-in-one, remote-friendly, and incredibly easy to use, so you can pay, hire, onboard, and support your team from anywhere. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/trailblazers and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's 3 months of free payroll at gusto.com/trailblazers. One more time, gusto.com/trailblazers. Got it. I love it. And I think this reframe around not having the public market comp is exactly when you know you're in the right spot.
Yeah.
And it's not that it's these like super unknown opportunities. It's just putting the right data in place to make your case of the like 1.5 million going to Korea, 1.5 million going to Turkey. Yeah, and I think the medical tourism start's a great example. And I know your brother's doing a lot of really cool stuff in meme coins.
Yeah.
You know, that's like another really interesting space.
Great space.
Great space. Okay, well, we have to wrap soon.
Yeah.
I have a trade-offs game.
Okay, yeah.
10 lightning round.
Okay.
Give me like your immediate answer. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. And then we'll do our last question. Okay, book in hand or podcast in ears?
Podcast in ears.
Oh, very fitting.
Yeah.
Okay, morning person or night owl?
Night owl.
Cooking dinner or ordering in?
Ooh, I was ordering in, but I think I'm entering my cooking dinner era. We change, you know?
We do change. What's the favorite thing to cook?
I'm just learning a lot of Indian food recipes right now that
Amazing.
my mom, that I have to like call my mom in for.
I love it. Maybe you can make me someone sometime.
Yes, I'm happy to.
Okay, VC or bootstrapping?
God damn. I think depends on the business. Sorry, I have to give a depends answer. If you're going for like a $10 billion plus company, raise VC. If not, you know, laptop and a dream. There's a lot you can do today. Yeah.
Laptop and a dream that we're gonna put on it like a pillow.
Yeah.
Okay, networking dinner or big conference?
Networking dinner.
Okay. Hire slow or fire fast?
Hire slow.
Okay. 10 small wins or 1 moonshot?
Ooh. I think I'm in the 1 moonshot business. So, yeah.
Yeah, that is our business. Being early or being right?
Being right. Yeah.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. Yeah.
You making the money or you not?
Yeah, exactly.
Never post on socials again or never fundraise another dollar again?
Never post on socials. That would be excellent. Yeah.
You're like, and I don't even want to.
Yeah.
AI hype or AI fatigue?
Ooh. I think fatigue, because I don't think it's the end all be all. Like, I think there'll be another thing post AI that's going to cause the same level of like, oh my God, this time is different. There's always a this time is different.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, Maya was like really deep in the crypto world, has done a lot of great stuff there. Is there anything that you think comes post AI that you're like, I think this could be the thing that's next? Or are you like, I don't know what it is, but it's going to be something?
I don't predict. I don't know what it is. I think that because of AI, there'll be like some second order thing that comes up.
Because everything like connects. It all
everything
affects each other.
connects. Like we just said, medical tourism is kind of like because of the creator economy.
Yeah.
Which is because of like Google who bought YouTube. Like this is all one circle, you know?
Yeah. And it's like the same people making money too.
True.
Okay. How can our listeners support you? Big launches, portfolio companies that I know are doing really cool stuff. Give me the like TLDR and where they can find you.
Okay. We have so many companies doing great stuff. Number one, if you're on the West Coast right now, drink Girl Beer. Try it out. Give it a chance.
We'll link Girl Beer too.
We'll link Girl Beer.
Yeah.
If you want to make money quickly, there's a meme coin app called Hype. So download Hype. If you need an AI assistant, look up sketch.com. If you want to buy now, pay later, BBL, look up Hava. No, I'm kidding.
We don't judge here.
We don't judge.
You do you.
You do you.
Yeah.
I think the best way to support me is to stay curious, open-minded, and like if you have a friend that's working on something that sounds crazy, support them. Like everyone needs that one believer to help to give them confidence to get started. Karmically, it's so good if you are that one believer. So I think that would be like my gift to the world is if I can get everyone to help someone who's like working on something really excited instead of you know, what most people do, they're like, oh, that's a dumb idea. Encourage them and see where it goes. Like, you never know what doors that will open for you.
I love it. And instead of calling them crazy, we're calling them illegible.
Illegible, yeah.
That's
You're just illegible.
That's our word of the day, everybody, illegible. Maya, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. This is amazing.
Thank you.
Yay.
On Trailblazers, we're always talking about multiplying your impact, and that's exactly what Athena helps you do. Athena pairs you with a world-class executive assistant who becomes a true force multiplier for your business and your life. Working with my Athena assistant has been transformative. Gab was instrumental in raising Park Rangers Capital's fund in ways that I could have never imagined an assistant could contribute. From closing 6-figure checks to identifying new LPs we should meet to matching my tone perfectly in follow-up emails. He's elevated my capacity as a founder by giving me more time to focus on the highest leverage work. Athena isn't just about scheduling meetings, it's about unlocking leverage. Hundreds of founders, investors, and executives trust Athena to free their time and scale their impact. Athena is offering our listeners $2,000 off for their first year of service and priority onboarding. And you want that, trust me, there's a very long wait list. When you're ready to multiply your impact and free up time for the things only you can do, go to athenago.me/Erica-Wenger. That's athenago.me/ERICA-WENGER. Thanks so much for listening to the Trailblazers podcast. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. You can also support our work by sharing it with a friend or leaving a quick review. It helps more contrarian builders find us. For more on Park Rangers Capital and our community of elephant founders, head to parkrangerscap.com or find me online at Erica_Wenger. Until next time, keep trailblazing.